Good morning, people. So, this morning we have this Hollowbody Washburn. What is this? This is a HP, what? Come on, focus. HP 15 TS. Probably for some sort of color. TS, trans sunburst, probably. Anyway. So, what was going on with this thing, and there's a previous video showing it, is the neck heel had separated. Neck heel joint, I should say, sorry. It's still early, and, I'm going with cappuccino this morning instead of coffee, so it's a risk we're all going to have to live with. Anyway, so what we did with this thing that was separating at the heel is the customer didn't want to do the full repair, by the way, which would be, the quote-unquote correct way, would be to remove the entire neck joint, which would include either, here, let's back up a little bit. So, if you want to take this apart correctly, there's a couple of ways to do it. A more common way, which does work, don't get me wrong, it works, is people pull this fret, and we'll cut straight down here, where this block, often here, let's see if there's a line. I think there is. Sorry about the camera, phone, I know, it's terrible. I gotta get a real camera. So there's a line there, it is. So some people just will either, if there's a joint already there, they will pull that, put steam in there, pull the whole thing off this way. Often there's not a joint here, but you still have to cut through the fingerboard. So you still have to cut through. I don't like doing that. I would prefer to remove everything, quote unquote, correctly, if I'm gonna do it correctly. So that would mean pulling the fingerboard off, which isn't a big deal. A lot of people think it's a huge deal. Look at my other videos, it's really not. So pulling the fingerboard off, then removing this block, if there's not a what's the word? Joint there. Jeez, my words are not working. So yeah, if there's not already a joint there, then we can either cut, which fine if we do, be great if we didn't have to, but then we have to heat this. Still have to heat this to get this off of there if you want to adjust the neck angle afterwards. So keep that in mind. You don't necessarily have to, but to do it right, you kind of do. Anyway, so then you have to do all that extra work just to get at this joint. You might be able to just slice everything off, reset it that way, but then you have to deal with it not lining back up again. So then you've made it a ski jump, like an old acoustic. So then what do? Pull the frets, level it out, leave it. There's only a few ways to do this, quote unquote, correctly. And that would be it. That's a lot of work for a guitar like this. This is a customer piece, and we can't go into it that deeply. They just don't want to go buy this guitar brand new for what it would cost in actual shop money. Guys that can do it on their own, on their own time, that's cool. It's a fun project. I've done them. It's neat to sharpen your skills. Go for it. Buy one of these that has that thing. Take it all apart. It's fun to do that stuff. But customer situation here. He's paying me to do this, and he doesn't want to pay me $1 million to tear apart this guitar. So what we do is we took and used physics, a little bit of physics going on. Shout out to Neil, Mr. Tyson. So we took this over here, and these little pads here to get maximum compression, leverage, I think. So we laid the guitar on it like that, and basically went around here with those pipettes with some 24-hour marine epoxy and a little pipette, and just kind of squirted it through here. So I had my catch towel underneath it, because epoxy will ruin any type of fabric. It just immediately, you can't clean it up, it just hardens that spot, and now you've made a spot where you scratch your guitar. Anyway, so we put that down and basically filled that full of epoxy until it started to basically overflow. Then we took this pile of crap and weights and clamps, and I took the pad, that cloth there, put it on the guitar, and basically piled all this stuff on top of it. I have other videos and pictures and whatnot. And what that does is, since it's still attached here, we can actually use this. We can use the actual instrument as a tool. We can use, some guys who only want to do things the correct way. It's like, use what you have to need what you got to do. To do what you got to do, use what you have. You can use a workbench. It's also a tool. You can use the neck rest as a tool. The guitar itself is a tool, We're paid to figure stuff out. Figure it out. Shout out Letterkenny. Anyway, so we were using the guitar as a tool because it was still attached here. It wasn't attached here. So what does that give you? It gives you a fulcrum point. And what you can do with that, you basically, how a pair of pliers works, one end to the other, you squeeze, does something here. Really oddly shaped pair of pliers, but still, you can make this pinch by flexing this down. So we put the epoxy in there, basically filled it up, and that stuff works very well for filling voids and any type of crunched wood. It's all plywood. Plywood's strong, but when it does let go, it kind of just mushes and turns into just fingers of nothing, and you can't glue to it. Epoxy can. It gets in all those little nooks and crannies and just then turns to like rock solid plastic. I've used this stuff to make guitar bridges this wide that hold full tension with flat wounds. It's very strong. We used it to replicate a piece of old tortoiseshell that had crumbled. That's why we did that. Anyway, so we took this weight with a pad and just set it on this, push on that end, push on that end, pushes down, squeezes here. It actually makes a great, powerful clamping system without having to rig up a bunch of stuff and make a jig. Some guys are saying, just make a jig. It's like, yeah, I did, but I didn't have to spend 2 hours at the bandsaw doing it. Now, this customer is basically going to pay, I don't know, I probably will have maybe an hour of messing around if I go ahead and clean up. I haven't cleaned up any of that finish, by the way. Here, check this out. This actually came out. Look. There's a little bit of epoxy there. Oh, come on, focus. I will get better stuff eventually, I promise. There we go. So we have a little bit of epoxy there, and what this little stuff will do is it'll either flake right off. I don't know, let's see if I can. It'll either flake right off, or it has basically become one with the plastic, and in that case, I'll just sand it flat, buff it out a little bit, and it'll be fine. By the way, the customer was totally cool with any type of functional condition that this thing returned in. Did not care what this was. I mean, this thing could have been drywall screwed. Not that I would ever do that, but could have been drywall screwed, and he would have been like, cool, thanks. So he's aware, all right? Save your free. And then, it's not too bad. By the way, I know like only 4 of you watch this now, and I'm pretending like there's 1,000 people out listening to this, my mumblings, but we'll get there maybe. So anyway, so that's not even horrible. I mean, again, a lot of that stuff will probably just chip out of here. I don't want to drop the guitar. Let's see. Maybe not. Again, I can just lightly sand it, buff it out, and it'll be fine for our customer's needs. If I was worried about him needing it to be prettier, then I would have spent more time cleaning it up or after. But yeah, see, look at that. Look at that. It's not bad at all. Okay, don't drop this guy's guitar on camera. Okay, stay. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's a down and dirty way that actually uses real physics. Hey, who'da thunk? To make your guitar repair, make your customer happy. Their words. To make your customer happy who doesn't want to spend, again, what's a neck reset cost? You guys' shop. I mean, here, our acoustic neck reset for like a Martin style dovetail is right around, I think, $400 on the books. Although I think our prices are gonna go up this year. But that's where it starts. These can be way more complicated, more chance of disaster, depending on how you do it and what you need to compensate for. And again, little tip on how to fix these. This is a good way to fix Epiphones and basically anything import that is starting to pull apart here. Because what happens is one of two things that happens. It's the joint itself was crappy and ill-fitting and their old glue let go. That's like, I don't know, probably 90% of them. That's what's going on. And in that case, the epoxy works fantastic. Just put it in there until it stops coming out, you know? That's what she said. But also, just, you know, do that. This works great. The other thing that has happened, what will happen in there is if the block itself, what the neck is set into, the block itself starts shifting, and that's when you'll see the sides will be all twisted out. That's a little more catastrophic. But, you know, if you can, see again, use what you have, figure it out. I've fixed, I mean, again, I've made playable, again, cheap instruments by just, again, a little bit of epoxy. Take one of these things, and if that's the case, squirt it in through the F-holes. Who cares? Try it. What do you got to lose? You know? And then just basically leverage it all back into position and see what happens. You know, if it's cheap and it's already broken, what's the worst that's going to happen? So that's how we figure stuff out. But anyway, I'll wrap this up, this video, just rambling at this point. And let me know what you think. Thanks to you guys who are doing the YouTube things. That's what I appreciate about Juice. Shout out Leonard Kenny. Come on over, click the things. Later.